Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Beauty, Strength, and Dominance, the official LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me today is a woman who just moved on to round two, defeating Lita Lecherous in the first round, and now she is taking on Frankie Fox, which will be on January 23rd. LFC Madness and LFC Prospect contestant, Miss Bettie Brickhouse. Bettie, it's a pleasure and a privilege. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I cannot complain. First and foremost, like I mentioned there, congratulations on moving on to round two. How you feeling?
I'm really excited. I actually put on my social media earlier today that I'd only hoped to make it to round two, but now that I'm here, now I just want to win.
Right? Well, how interesting was it too as well? Because for fans who know, LongerieFC.com, go check out LFC Madness. You guys could check out the leaderboard, and you were right there up in the top five doing your thing on the leaderboard. You were all up in the mix.
I was pretty surprised to see that, actually. There's never been a plus size person on LFC from what I can tell. So I was not expecting to have such a positive fan support.
I'm going to say this right now, and me, Betty, I'm a pop culture nerd, so you're doing the Commodores thing, man. You're a brick house, mighty, mighty, just letting it all hang out. I mean, it comes with the territory. It comes with the name, Betty.
Absolutely. That's why I call myself that.
Hey, I love it. First and foremost, I think what's great about it too is with LFC, we have a variety, not just with different fighters and women, but I think what's great about it too is from the plus side of things, you're a specimen and you have a great stature. So I think you fit right into the mix.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome. And I think what's very cool about it as well, too, when it comes to women, and we talk about all shapes and sizes, is there's that voluptuosity factor. And I think from the curves in the word and everything that really goes into it, I think that also brings a lot of equality to women's wrestling, to LFC and MMA, and just in general. I think equality is very key in what we see in today's society.
Absolutely. I've definitely checked that out when I've gone through, larger women's wrestling organizations. There's people of all shapes and sizes.
I think what's great about it too is you look from like early days of WWF, and these are like girls that also wrestled in Japan. I mean, she was a comedy character, but you had your likes of Bertha Faye, you had your Bull Nakanos. There's always that stature. And I mean, you look like Awesome Kong with Karma and all that stuff from that stature size. It's always great to see what's incorporated from that side as well, because these are women that also, from Nia Jax was one, she did modeling and then wrestling, but it's great to see just like a different side of someone. You know what I'm saying? It's not your cookie cutter, like your Barbies, your blondes. We have someone like that. It's different and unique and it's new. I think that's also what you bring to the table. It's something unique for the LFC auspices.
Absolutely. I wish that I'd been around in the days of Glow, because I feel like I would have absolutely killed that. And I think I would have fit right in there as well.
I'm going to say right now, so when you say Glow, now a lot of people don't remember the original Glow from the late 80s because, like I said, the newer times, a lot of people talk about the Netflix special.
Right.
So we talking Netflix special or OG Glow when we had like Ivory who would go into the WWF and Hollywood and Vine and all those people.
So I learned about Glow because of the Netflix special, but I went back and looked and started looking at the original Glow and looked at the documentary, and definitely original Glow.
All right. And you know what's funny about it too is, again, pop culture nerdiness. I remember, so again, when I used to get up for school and go to high school, I had to be in for high school at 7:26 in the morning. We'd be out at 2:05, right? So what's great is I have my breakfast, bada boom, bada bing. There was old school episodes of Saved by the Bell on TBS back in the day, and I'm sure they still do it. It's at 7 o'clock in the morning, right? So one of the episodes was one of the earlier ones where Zach is spying on Kelly Kapowski, right? Because they're having the sleepover. And you know what, guys? We're curious. We want to know what the ladies have to say. And they find out, and Screech, God rest his soul, Dustin Diamond's like, Zach, what if she catches you? Girls are getting mad. It's like the gorgeous ladies of wrestling. You ever see what they do on the gorgeous ladies of wrestling? That was my early memory of the gorgeous ladies of wrestling, talking about how it was so powerful and just how, premising that it was from Screech. You got to thank Screech on that one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it is when it comes to wrestling in general and popular culture. Like the mixes is great as well, from talk shows and just in general. I think LFC also has that kind of mix of pop culture as well that we can see in general. So it fits. It's a nice tie-in.
Absolutely.
Now for you, I'm curious because we're talking about LFC, we're talking about the madness, we're going to incorporate a lot in today's forum. But god dang, man, I've seen you in the sessions world, and a lot of sessions wrestlers participate and take part in LFC. How did you get involved, and how did LFC come across your eye?
How did I get involved in session wrestling, or how did I get involved in LFC?
We'll start with LFC first.
Okay. LFC, definitely Jennifer Thomas, Des Desire, they talked to me about it, or rather I talked to Desire about it way back when I think I met her ages ago, or I saw it in her feed, something along those lines. And I was like, man, I really wish that I could do that. And but I was like, yeah, there's no one my size, like there's no way. So I just kind of dismissed it. But then actually LFC reached out to me, or somebody reached out to me on Twitter and was like, hey, do you want to participate in the madness? And I was like, are you sure? Like, I don't look like the girls that are on your program. And they were like, go ahead and try. And so I did. And I didn't know how far I would get, but we'll see.
I look at it from a stance too is now, and you look at today's WWE product right now. Like for instance, I mentioned like Nia Jax, The Rock's cousin, right? Look at who we have now who's on Raw. There's a wrestler by the name of Doudrop, who also wrestled as Piper Niven, international star. She's from the UK. Like her size and prowess, but that athleticism, and I think that's also very key. When we see people like yourself, the size and stature, going back to that for a second, the athleticism is key there. And I gotta say, from your sessions work, which we'll get to here in a second, the athleticism really does show and shine through your work, Betty.
Thank you. Yeah, I work really hard. I'm definitely, I would say, I think I phrase it that I probably am built a lot like somebody that was like a shot putter, like maybe in the Olympics. I've definitely worked really hard on being very athletic, and I'm much more stocky, I think, than a lot of people my size.
Well, with people, and again with the plus size, like we mentioned, the modeling side of things, like how great is it if you look at it from an imagery standpoint? Because, like I said, with this show, it's beauty, strength, and dominance. The imagery standpoint provides us with a lot of great features. Like when I was growing up from the model side of things, we had Tyra Banks, we had America's Next Top Model, we had Naomi Campbell, we had so many from that stature. But then you see the plus size side of things, we had Ashley Graham, we had so many people that got involved in that aspect. It's great to see now modeling has really showcased a lot of different women in shapes and sizes.
Absolutely. And I grew up watching America's Next Top Model for sure as well. And they only ever had, one plus size girl each season, maybe. When Whitney won, it was definitely, that was one of the first times that you really saw a plus size model go anywhere. And nowadays, like, everyone's plus size. So it's a lot more common than it was. But we're still getting there in the, I think, let's say, fetish world.
I mean, for me, I look at it from a stance too. Now, this is me. Now, I grew up. My mother is probably my biggest influences and why I am how I think the way I am and respect I have for women. Like you see, like me and a lot of people, unfortunately, shaming is a thing from the others from the side of the spectrum in society. But I'm like, man, it's just a woman. You know what I'm saying? It's just women are
Yeah.
who they are. Like that really should not matter. But unfortunately, in today's world and society, we have the stigmas. You know?
Absolutely. And as I do fetish clips.
Yeah.
And I work with producers, and I even had a little thread that went on my Twitter recently. I worked with a producer, and then later, he posted on FetLife about how fat I was, and like how I was sort of a monster compared to like the girl that I worked with, and she was like a former porn star, so she was super skinny. Um, I'm like, I don't think about those things when I'm filming, but I still run into it. I'm always kind of in shock because I'm like, man, it is 2022.
And that's the thing too. Like I mentioned, the voluptuosity factor and stuff like that. And I think for me, from a personal experience as a man, growing up, a lot of us we date, we play the field, so to speak. And I've always noticed as a young man, and now I'm 29 years old, going on 30. Look at it from a stance too. Like a lot of the girls that I would went out with were a lot of plus size, but it doesn't matter because I think looking at it from a stance, they got the heart, if they got the overall personality and overall fun. And I'm going to say this about you, ladies: you're all very fun, you're all very vibrant, and I love the confidence. I think you exude a lot of confidence, and that really shines through as well. I think the confidence shows.
Well, thank you. We were the same age. I turned 30 in November.
Oh, you. God bless. First and foremost, how does it feel to turn the big 3-0, man? It's like we're getting older, but at the same time, it's like, God dang, man, we're coming towards the big 3-0. Or we are the big 3-0, you know?
I know, like the 30s are supposed to be the big years, so I'm excited.
Hey, I look at it from a stance, too. It's another year. It's another year that we're living and we're keeping on onward and upwards. So that's a plus. You got your health.
Absolutely.
I like that. And I also look at it from a stance too as well. Like you were talking about something that we've never seen in LFC. From example, we've had Selena De La Renta and Katie Forbes and so many people that have been on professional wrestling television, whether it be Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, WWE. I think what's great about it too is like we were talking about something that we've never seen before. That is what we need to see in LFC because we've seen, like we talked about, like a Selena De La Renta. We've seen these women, but we've never seen a brick house. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say this right now. We have never seen a brick house. We've seen
That's true.
stars. We've seen hurricanes. We've seen a lot of stuff, but we've never seen a brick house. So, I mean, hey,
I don't know if the world has ever seen a brick house.
I'm just saying, man. Like we talked about the and Lionel Richie, I'm happy for it, and I'm looking forward to it. For me, with you, like, again, I'm gonna put it like this: you went through Lita Lecherous, who is a beautiful young lady, and now we got Frankie Fox. I know you're looking to take down Frankie Fox in this tournament. Frankie was right there at the leaderboard; she was #1, killing it. So I mean, I know you're looking forward
No.
to take her spot, right?
I was looking at that. She doesn't have a social media following at all either. She hasn't even posted on her Twitter since like October. So I don't even think I tagged her. I tagged Alita, and Alita and I have interacted with each other's posts, and I retweet her stuff all the time now. But I don't. There's nothing on Frankie, so I don't know. I don't know where her following is. I don't know. I don't know who's out there that's like a huge Frankie fan. I don't have to. I like to. Part of what is exciting about LFC is like getting to meet all of these girls that I might not have ever met before. I never would have seen Lita Lecherous. Like she never would have come up in my feed probably because she's not local. You know, she's just not in my sort of in my sphere of. We don't work with the same producers, anything. And I'm excited that I got to see some of her work. And I don't know where Frankie's stuff is. Maybe it's under a different name or something.
I mean, I look at it from a stance too as well. Sometimes you got to keep it on the DL, man, and then you see what
Yeah.
happens. She's keeping it on the DL, down low, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's posting on her main social media accounts.
Now, Lita Lecherous, we got to talk about this young lady. What a beautiful and vibrant human being. I'm going to say right now, unfortunately, she is out of the first round, but she's a definite one for LFC in the future. My goodness gracious.
Absolutely. I definitely think, and just because somebody's out of the madness doesn't mean that they're not going to be on LFC later down the line. I think part of the madness is that they're sort of they're testing the waters, seeing who might do well. And she's like definitely one of the people that I think would be a ringer for being an LFC normally. Whereas somebody more like me, I think it's a little bit more questionable for them to just go ahead and hire somebody like me without sort of going through the tears, the madness to see the fan base.
I mean, I look at it from a stance too. So I'm actually glad that we're talking about this because a lot of people sometimes get confused where it's like, oh, we lost, we're done. I'm like, no. I mean, I look at it from a stance too. We're going to have more of these. So I mean, the people who did lose, we're going to maybe put you back in for LFC Madness 4, 5, 6, what have you. So the possibilities just there, people.
And she also got a little unlucky. She was on the leaderboard too.
Yes.
She got a little unlucky being paired against me because I just happen to have a much larger social media following than her. And I've been working at it for longer. I think she might be younger than me. So I feel like maybe next time around, if she's paired against somebody else that's more maybe at the same social media following, I think maybe she would get further along in the rankings because she was in the top 10.
She was, and I look at it from a stance too as well. There's so many girls, there's so much time, and I look at it from a stance too. This year, we're gonna get more shows, possibly in Vegas. We're gonna probably go back to Sturgis again. So the possibilities are endless for LFC in the year of 2022. And I'm gonna say right now, as someone who ring announced at the last event, I hope to meet you in person, Betty.
Absolutely. And I go to Vegas. I'm actually going to Vegas in February. So I'm the chances of meeting me in a general sense are pretty high. I also performed at the last Women on Fire, the Session Girls Women on Fire event. So if you went to that, I don't know if you met me in person or not. Sorry, I'm adjusting my camera here.
You're good. I look at it from a stance as well. Yo, we'll definitely meet. Unfortunately, I was there for the one. I was an in and out, so I went in for the for the Halloween one, and then boom, I was out of Vegas like the day after. So I mean, it was an in and out. But once we get more time and more events, I look forward to meeting you and give you a big old hug, man, because that's a beautiful thing, man. It really is.
Absolutely. And I believe that there's a talk of a Woman on Fire event happening in Chicago in May. So hopefully I'll be involved in that one as well whenever the information gets finalized for that.
Man, before we get to Sessions Wrestling, we got to talk about this women's athlete on fire. First of all, Jennifer Thomas, with this event, always puts on a great event with this. The fact that we have this getting to showcase more female empowerment and female promotion, this is an event that you people don't want to miss because it really is so good, top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, it's so worth watching. Like there's staged wrestling, there's real, competitive wrestling, there's an after party. Like you cannot go wrong with it, to be honest.
I think for me, like what's also great about wrestling is, and we see a lot more women's wrestling promotions coming into fruition. Like for me, when I was a kid, they had Shimmer, they had Rise, now they have Shine, and then they're do more like internationally wise. It's great to see so much more women's wrestling promotions, including women's athletes on fire, that really showcase women. Because I think what's great is we have independent promotions, and there's male and female in classes and stuff like that for training. But I'm like, to have actually definitive women's promotions and going onward and upward, that's the change that we need.
Absolutely. And after I started doing some of the wrestling recently, like I've actually considered going to like pro wrestling classes because I think like that might be something I'd really enjoy doing. LFC would give me, put me straight on there, but I would really enjoy, I think, doing independent wrestling. That's not from a fetish point of view. I mean, I like that point of view as well, but I just really love that whole aspect of it.
Agreed. And for me, I mean, we were in for LFC, the last one in Halloween. We were at the FSW Arena, the Future Stars of Wrestling, where a lot of great talents who've gone on to WWE Impact and what have you. So you're in that establishment. And what's great is before we even get to the event, a lot of these girls can train with a lot of great coaches. So it really helps them go into the event and also makes it work. You're in the 20 by 20 ring, and then boom, here we are.
Absolutely. I just really enjoy the athleticism that's involved in wrestling, even though it's some of it's scripted, some of it's staged. Like it's still a enormously difficult thing to do.
Now let's get into sessions wrestling here because my goodness gracious, I've seen your photos, I've seen your profile, and what I love about you here, Betty, is because my God, we have so many different things. Sessions wrestling is so unique. I think what I love about it is it's the clientele, it's everybody that we get to work with, it's different, it's head scissors, it's chokes, it's systematic dissection and joint manipulation with a little bit of sex appeal. So how in the world did you get involved in the world of sessions wrestling? What Jennifer Thomas does with sessions is mwah, muy bien. So how did you get involved with that?
So I've actually been on Session Girls for 10 years. I was probably, I don't know when Session Girls was founded, but I joined the local kink community in Louisville, Kentucky, because that's where I lived at the time, literally the week that I turned 18. I've known that I was into a variety of things from a pretty young age, and so I was just counting down the days. And then once I was in the kink community, wrestling was one of the things that I got into, as well as I'm pro dom, and and I was contacted by somebody to do a wrestling session when I was 19, and we did the session. He was like, "You are so strong." And I was like, okay, thank you. And he basically gave me all of the websites that I should sign up for, and Session Girls was one of them. And I signed up, and like I found when I started traveling, I was just traveling for like fun things. I'm a huge nerd, so I went to like Dragon Con when I was 20, I think, and that's in Atlanta. And I was contacted by all of these people in Atlanta that wanted to session with me, and I was like, what? Because in Louisville, there's no one to session. But when I was traveling, I found like all sorts of people that wanted to do it, and like every time I did it, I liked it a little bit more. And so I'm here I am 10 years later. I'm sessioning now more than I ever have. I did 3 sessions yesterday.
30 sessions and oh my God, that is first of all, that is dedication and that is commitment to the craft. I love that. Oh, but yeah, that's what it is, and I always look at it from a stance too. Like people have their naysayers when it comes to sessions in LFC, but I'm like, if you're actually open-minded, if you really look at it like you look at a picture like true art, it's a work of art, and a lot of people don't really understand like the work that goes into it from the finesse and the fitness side of things. Like they were talking about your strength and your overall power. Like you just have that powerlifting ability, and you have the weights, and you have that grit and determination that I think also measures with LFC because a lot of people will also go, oh, it's just, it's women rolling around in lingerie. It's like, do you realize the commitment that goes into both said varieties and said genres?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that if I actually get out there at LFC, I think you'll see some things like I'll probably pick up girls, multiple girls at a time, things along that line. And then it'll be sort of undoubtedly an athletic event. There will be no question once I'm out there whether I'm doing something that's more than just women rolling around.
Right. And I mean, for you, and I'm going to say this right now, for being the powerhouse that you are, I mean, head scissors, body scissors, what have you. I think what's great about sessions too is it's a uniqueness for everyone. Like we were talking about fetishes and preferences. Like some people may want to lift and carry. Some people may just want a head scissor. Some maybe want a leg scissor, belly punches, what have you. There's a variety and uniqueness that really opens up one's preferences because we all are unique as people. And who doesn't want to like spice things up and try something new?
Absolutely. I'm all for that.
Now, for you, when it comes to different sessions as well, because we talked about the variety and preferences, what are some of your favorite sessions, man? Because there's a lot of great stuff. Like I was talking to Sheena Bathory on the show, known for the head scissors, known for the lift and carry, that strong, that brutality. She even showcased in the LFC ring and the auspices. So, god dang, man, as far as sessions go, like what are some of your favorite sessions to do, Betty?
Um, So I really enjoy sessions where it's competitive. but it's fun. Like there's sometimes, men come in with the goal of like, they absolutely want to win at all costs. And when they start losing to me, which is what happens, I want to say 99.9% of the time, they start getting bitter. And like it starts becoming increasingly uncomfortable as the session goes on because they really thought that they were going to win and they really aren't. But when a guy comes in and he just wants to wrestle, he just wants to play, he just wants to have a great time, but he's also like actually trying, he's not just losing, it is the most fun. I'll spend the whole time giggling and laughing and rolling around. And I'll be tired afterwards, but I'll be exhilarated. I'll leave the session more energized than when I started, because we both just had such a fantastic time, and we both really gave it our all, and it was a workout.
Now, I'm going to say this right now. I can tell. I like the flex right there. Like 99% of the time, I'm control. You're flexing on the guy, when you're 99% of the time. I like that, the finesse. But also at the same time, like you were talking about the giggling and the fun part about it, the clientele is really what makes it, because you get to see what they like as well. And mind you, sometimes sessions may not go the way that you will from the clientele perspective. But mostly, all I've heard every time we talk about sessions is just the ease and the travel. And you get to really go from city to city and really explore and meet new different people.
I do. Yeah, I travel all the time. I mean, this month alone, I'm probably going to go to Tampa and then go to LA and Sacramento and San Francisco. And then next month, I'm going to Vegas and New Orleans, and I'm going to Phoenix in March. I just get to travel so much more than I ever would get to if I wasn't doing this. My goal is to do a 3-week Europe tour, my first one in April. And I've already had some people reach out to me. I've already got some producers that I'm going to get to work with. I'm just really excited. And that is one of the best parts of session wrestling, is like getting to meet all of these new people, and getting to all of these new cities and in these new environments. And people are completely different in different cities. You get totally different attitudes. And I imagine it'll be starkly different when I go to a different country.
I look at it from a stance as well. I think you kind of really exude and accentuate the two C's, as I like to call them: comfortability and confidence. And I think that's what a lot of the clientele will get. And we see you as a person, because I got to say, the confidence side of things, man, you're like a Jill of all trades. We're talking about powerlifting sessions, and now we're doing LFC, roller derby. Like, it really, is there anything that you can't do? Because you really just like to expand and do the variety, man.
So if it's combat, I'm probably into it. One of my favorite things to do is sword fighting. I'm a sword fighter in the SCA, which is like a medieval reenactment organization, and we wear full armor, hit full strength. Like, people can get broken bones. I got taken off the field once on a EMT because I got my head gashed. But honestly, I'm not very good at roller derby. I seem to have a disconnect between my lower body and my upper body. And like, while I can do great things with like scissors and I've got extremely strong legs. That was accentuated to me yesterday when I did a session. He was trying to get between my legs and I just clamped them shut. He couldn't even get his hand in to try to pick me up. And I'm just not as graceful on skates as I would love to be. So there's definitely, and I did a lot of team sports when I was younger as well, and I wasn't particularly good at those either. It's just a matter of like finding a very combat oriented and very competitive sport. That's definitely where I shine.
Also, I think from the standpoint as well with roller derby, at least you tried it, and I think if you don't try it, then you won't know. So I think that's also very cool, and that's a nice healthy balance. And as well with you, man, I think I'm gonna put it bluntly, and excuse my language, but you like to fuck shit up when it comes to sessions and just in general, and that really does showcase. You know what I'm saying? You have that combative nature, but also at the same time you make it fun. So I mean, I think you like to wreck some stuff all in all. So it's a nice balance for you, right?
Absolutely. And I will go to roller derby again. I'm a believer that just because you're not good at something doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. I will always be, in the equivalent of a junior varsity player of roller derby. And I think that's perfectly fine. I don't see any reason why I can't be a super solid blocker in a junior varsity version of roller derby, because I can stand in front of somebody and they're not going to get around me. And that's where my skill is. No, I'm not like super graceful and I'm not super fast, but hey, it's still valuable on a roller derby team.
That's very true, and I think from the size, stature, and everything, the prowess that you have, like as far as LFC goes, and I think what's also very great about it too is everybody talks about the entrances with LFC because it's always memorable entrances, but also at the same time is really what encompasses. It's the little nuances that really go together with the LFC performance. So I got to ask you, when it comes to the entrance, when it comes to the style and finesse, one thing that everybody talks about is the L that is standing in LFC, the lingerie. Now I'm going to ask you, Betty, what's your style, what's your grace, what's your finesse? What can we expect from the lingerie side of things? What are you thinking about as far as the wardrobe goes?
So I put my name, I don't know how these names stick or not, as the dominator. So I'm feeling like it's likely I'm gonna be a heel. That's what I've done when I've done sort of pro wrestling stuff before. And I do it well. And so I'm thinking like full black, sort of dominatrixy lingerie coming in. I feel like that'll definitely, make a splash. Maybe latex, maybe leather. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what the costuming looks like. But I definitely am thinking I'll be coming in as like a pretty big bad guy.
First and foremost, there's nothing wrong with being a heel. Some of the most memorable heels from Rowdy Roddy Piper and the Million Dollar Man Ted DiBiase, taking it back old school. There's nothing wrong with the craft of being a heel. And I think that's awesome because we need a little bit more heels in LFC. Everybody's smiling and having a good time. Sometimes you just got to go in and be a little bit serious. But I like that. I like the whole dominatrix type of feel, which is funny because that also encompasses with sessions. And it's so wonderful just to see like how that demographic, that genre, isn't it great to see how like the dominatrix field and how many people want a session with that, or that whole thing is really like coming to fruition, how big it is for the clientele?
Absolutely. And I can still be, just because I'm a heel doesn't mean I can't smile. I'll be a fun heel, but I'm definitely going to be out there to fuck shit up.
This woman said, I'm gonna be a fun heel. I like your style. I like.
I feel like I'm pretty like out there. I'm pretty authentic. The person that you're seeing right now is the person that like everyone in my real life sees too. But I can be mean too, but it's gonna be like this person who's like pretty chill and fun also can be, heel, mean, angry sort of person.
Well, I'm gonna stay as far as your good side as I can. So I like that. We're vibing. But yeah, no.
Absolutely.
But I really look forward to seeing what you do on the LFC auspices and just in general, because I got to say this as well, the dominatrix side of things. Like we were talking about our nerdiness and our pop cultureness. The first time I actually remember seeing about dominatrix, now, early stages when MTV had True Life, that was like one of their earliest episodes. It's like I'm a dominatrix, and it's just showing the very submissive, the very S&M type bondage, and just like the mistresses and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, now this is very interesting. Mind you, I was like early teens when this came out, so I was like, okay, this is new. It's something different. But you really get to learn about like how the world works and how really popular it is and how much a lot of guys like to try a little different stuff, you know?
So many more than you would expect.
Right?
Some of the like I'm on a variety of sites, and some of the people that the last people that you expect to be interested in dominatrixes have reached out to me and been like, so I'm a dom most of the time, but like you actually seem like you could genuinely overpower me, and like that's the only way that I can ever see myself being submissive, so like that's why I want to do a session with you.
I love that. And first and foremost, and I think a lot of guys need to do that. And a lot of people like just try something different, even if it may not be for you. Maybe just give it a try. Because some people, like I said, you don't try, but like as far as like spicing things up, or whether it be bedroom or what have you, like it does really encompass, and it's very empowering to what a lot of people get to do.
Absolutely. And I've definitely switched before. Like you'll even see some fetish films where I'm playing the bottom or the victim. And I feel like every time you try something new, like I've learned things as a bottom that I've totally incorporated as a top. So if you're normally a dominant person, like I always encourage, like try being submissive just once, because you might learn something. You might find something new or something interesting that you can use when you turn around and play the other side of the spectrum.
Also gives us a chance for us men to be your bitches and really bow down to the queens that women are. So there's a plus to that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's really all about, isn't it? Like, I'm obviously better and badder than all of you.
Hey, you just putting the catchphrase out there, better and better. Put that on.
Better and badder, better and badder. Bettie Brickhouse. It's a alliteration.
I love that. Put that on a t-shirt. Use it in LFC in quotes, man. We got to get that. Like,
Absolutely.
oh my goodness. Now, before we close this out, first and foremost, Bettie Brickhouse, it's an absolute pleasure and a privilege to have you on the show. We're definitely going to do a round two, and I definitely want to see you move onward and upward in LFC in the Madness tournament.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. And as another thing that I didn't mention, I do mud wrestling as well here in Chicago with the Mud Queens. So maybe I'm all right. Like, I feel like maybe we should have a mud wrestling version of LFC.
Oh, okay. All right.
I
Before
feel like that would be a thing.
Okay, now we got to talk about this before we do the plugs and everything. So the mud wrestling side of things, that is something else that's also very cool. Now, mind you, my earliest memories of mud was the mud fights at Woodstock back in the 90s, for God's sake. But no, I look at it from a stance as well, including the sexual vibes and the mudness as well. Because remember WWE, you had mud fights, the bikinis and the bra and panties and stuff like that. Like that really encompasses what we saw to what we get now with women's wrestling. So there's always the history for that. And also, plus, who doesn't want to do some mud wrestling, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like everyone's sort of equalized in mud. I've wrestled some very small people that without fail I would have, won, no, hands down. But mud makes it so that you can slip out of every hold. So I feel like it's the great equalizer. If you really want to wrestle somebody who's like stronger and bigger than you, like mud's the way to do it.
Okay, now you see, you had me intrigued before we even go do the plugs. Here's the thing about it. I'm gonna take it from this stance. So growing up with pay-per-views and stuff, like before we actually were buying pay-per-views and we didn't have like these streaming services, there would always be like mud wrestling, or back in the day, like I mean, we had the Girls Gone Wild and stuff, which was very popular in the early 2000s. But you always get like some adult content like that. It would be like $15 on pay-per-view, and then people would just go hog wild, and then your parents will get mad because you're using up the cable bill. But at the same time, it's worth it at the end, you know.
Absolutely.
No, but I love that. And first and foremost, also expands more into you because it's like, hey, I do wrestling here, but mud wrestling, have some sex appeal rolling around in the mud. And again, it's something that's very popular. A lot of people don't even realize how popular it is.
It is. I think there should be a national mud wrestling competition. I feel like that would be. I feel like having a chapter in every city would be the ultimate goal.
Now, do we also rank it kind of similar, or is it kind of like it's like cousin or brother type deal, like the mud and oil wrestling? Because there's a lot of mud and oil besides the mud. Like the oil stuff is also very popular. There's a lot of like mix there.
So, I've only done oil wrestling a couple of times.
Okay.
And oil is very different than mud, depending on the oil you use. I mean, that probably has something to do with it. But I feel like oil is somehow inherently more sexual, whereas mud is like we're having fun. And yeah, like, of course, there's a sex appeal because we're covered in mud, like the wet and messy, right? But oil is like when you're rubbing that oil onto you or onto your body, like inherently, like, okay, now it is a sex thing. So I feel like maybe they're cousins would be probably the way that I would phrase it.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was somewhere in the family relatives because the reason why I put that out there is because I think in my time as a teenager and just growing up, like they would always like equate mud and oil wrestling just because of the vibes and how like a lot of people would do it. So I've always kind of like got the different kind of balance of it.
Absolutely.
Oh, I mean, and that's also like very key with anything, like the balance of how you do stuff, and really just in life. And I think that really is just going to continue to strive and stride with you, Betty Brickhouse. So before we close this out, please promote the social medias, the Twitter, the Instagram, where everybody can find you on all means of social media. Links will be in the description. Please go right ahead.
I usually just use my link tree / Bettie Brickhouse. That's the easiest way. It's got all of my links in one place. But you can pretty much search Bettie Brickhouse on any social media platform. And if I'm on it, you'll find me. I usually only use Twitter, Instagram, and FetLife. But Instagram's where, the good photos are. Twitter, you'll find more less safe for work stuff and more just my random musings.
I will say this first and foremost: if you are not following Betty Brickhouse on Instagram, beautiful photos and beautiful imagery. You do a lot of great work on Instagram.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And I will say this: do you have any final words, man? You're still in the LFC madness. It's round 2. Do you have any final words for the LFC universe and the LFC faithful, the fans?
Better and badder Bettie Brickhouse.
This woman right here. I love it. And before we close this out, as I always say, it's tradition. Beauty, strength, and dominance. It's not just the name of this podcast. It's a mindset. Beauty, strength, and dominance, the 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Betty Brickhouse, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.